A small question for Sir Iain McKellen. How was training with the bees?
I said to Bill, look, I'm delighted to play Sherlock Holmes, but I am having nothing to do with bees. And he said, no, that's fine. And, of course, then sent me on a bee training course. Now, we must remember his name.
Steve Benbow.
Yes, Steve Benbow runs the London Honey Company, and he looks after bees. And like many an apiarist, he is in love with these amazing animals that I now respect, and perhaps would like to know a little bit more about. That they're almost a model of what perhaps we should be collectively. They work entirely for the society. They are individuals and they have a job to do, but they do it on behalf and for everybody else. It's wonderful, and they're not aggressive, and they don't mind human beings as long as we don't get in their way too much. I'm proud to say I worked with the bees. I did my own stunts on this occasion. Those are my hands lifting the frames with the bees on them. I wasn't wearing gloves, a dangerous thing to do, but I didn't get stung, and nor did anybody else. So, no bee was harmed in the making of this film.
It is hard to get movies like this made, and I have to point to my partner on the right here, Ann Carey, who developed this movie across 11 years. I came into the middle of that, well into the middle of that process, when there was already a very strong script developed that she'd worked on. So talk about sticking with it, you know, and trying so many avenues to get it made. You know, then I got involved. We did work on the script. I got Iain involved, and then it took us another 4 years or so to pull it all together. And we have some very kind partners here who were involved in that process. But why? Why? Because I thought when I read it, it just felt like a piece of poetry. You know, it was such a delicate and beautifully told story. And I have to say, too, secretly for 17 years, I've been reading scripts, constantly imagining that I could work with Ian McKellen again. And suddenly there was this script, and it seemed so obvious. I sent it to him. I think your response was, well, that's a part and a half. And suddenly we were off.
I learned a lot from Iain because on the basis that he's a really nice man and he's also an amazing actor. So, you know, I mean, he's Gandalf for me. But no, he taught me lots of things like little glances and hesitations. They all make a difference to put together a really good movie.
It was sort of the main thread of her character in many ways, having lost what she lost in the war, having lost her husband, having lost her life, the life that she lived before the war. I don't think she was a housekeeper before the war. And like many women during that time whose lives were destroyed and transformed irrevocably by the war, she finds herself in a new situation with a man who is famously brilliant and who she knows with whom she cannot compete mentally. She has a young son who is much smarter than she is as far as mental acuity, and she sees this natural attraction between the two of them. But as he is the only thing that she has left from her old life, not only is there the complicated mother-son relationship of not wanting to let him go, there's also a sense of she might lose him as well. And so the threat is very intense and very strong.
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and that about sums it up. What separates human beings from animals is that we act, and they don't. We're capable of deceit, of disguise, of confusing other people, and it's a very interesting thing to be a human being, because we have to live with what we present and what we don't present, and the tension between the public persona and the private person. Of course, it's of constant interest to actors, but it should be of constant interest to everybody. And is, you know, it's not enough for us to see a photograph any longer of a politician, or to hear a politician speak. You have to really imagine what it's like to be them, so you can work out whether they're lying or not. You know, but that's so that's all part of acting, and it's what keeps me interested in it. It's a very personal process, but it's one that we all know about.